Okay, hi everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to this video edition of the solfa notation masterclass. This is just a short video a short interview actually, to talk a bit about the course and to get us to understand what the whole course is about. And just if you have any questions, just feel free to leave them in the comment section. The music that is playing in the background is the High Life Suite by Tetteh Jr. And of course, we have obtained the permission to use it as our theme song for the course. And so perhaps in one of the episodes of the course, we're going to discuss the melodic and harmonic elements of that song. It's a beautiful song. And so without much ado, I have with me Amos Tetteh, a very accomplished pianist and a composer as well. Amos, how are you doing today?
Fine, thanks.
Great. So to go straight to the point, we're going to discuss the course content of the solfa notation masterclass. And my name is Kenneth Woanyah, the founder of Audit. And this course was put together basically to help classical and also contemporary musicians, singers, vocalists, producers to understand how to both score and interpret solfa notations. And so the first section of the course content, which is the introduction, talks about the purpose of the course. We go on to look at the target audience and the requirements, and also to look at what can be achieved by the end of the course. Obviously, the course is meant for anyone who is a music enthusiast, basically anyone who has a very high interest in any form of music. This course is not just for contemporary music, but classical music as well. And so it's meant for everyone, basically. I mean, the young, the old, the beginner, the advanced player who wants to understand, the use of the solfa notations. And so for the second section, where I'm going to engage Amos a bit more, we're going to look at the two basic types or the types of musical notation. So Amos, what kinds of musical notations do we have?
Okay, so standard, we have the staff notation and the solfa notation.
Great.
And these are the most common ones that we have used internationally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you say internationally, basically, I mean, can we say worldwide?
Exactly.
Great. Okay, so there's a bit of history behind the solfa notation. Well, the course content actually captures the entire history, basically, to an extent. And however, in the past, there's actually a review by John E. Bolland, and the title of his article is Musical Training Through Tonic Solfa. He makes a lot of arguments. So John says that in the past, from the elementary level, they started with solfa notations, so for those who were starting out. But then at the secondary level, the solfa notation is like taken out of the curriculum. And so what happens is that that foundation that people have from the solfa notation is kind of lost, and they get so stuck to the staff notation. However, he believes that the solfa notation actually helps to build a solid foundation. What is your take on that?
Well, I understand. The solfa notation is just for introduction. It's a breakdown of the staff notation, actually.
Great.
So you don't lean on it forever. I mean, in your development.
No, but
as a
that's
musician.
an interesting. So, that's an interesting way to put it. You are saying that the solfa notation is a breakdown of the staff notation. So, can we safely say that they can't do without each other?
Well, if you developed your staff reading skills by using the solfa notation, then of course you still you see that kind of work in your memory.
Okay.
I mean, actually, to me, if you ask me, I'll tell you that the solfa notation is just a memorization technique.
Right.
That's been devised.
Okay.
For the memorization of pitches and recalling of them.
Right. John. So to dwell on that, John Bolland makes an interesting analogy. So he says that just like the English language, the alphabet, what the alphabet are to the English language is what the solfa notation is to music.
Yes, but that's just like labeling. I mean,
Okay. You want to get the mic a bit closer? Yeah.
Okay, fine. So that's just like labeling.
Great.
To me, because the pitches are I mean, there's a sound that we hear.
Right.
And we do not hear it's as so or as far. So I mean, it's just a technique to understanding it and using it.
Does anyone have perfect pitch?
Yes, of course.
Because there's this argument as well. Actually, there's a whole course on perfect pitch and relative pitch, but people have reviewed that course and they have made a few statements that it was a scam and all that because no one in the world has perfect pitch and all. What's your take on that?
Okay, so I have this friend of mine. He's a blind guy.
Okay.
He's Isaac.
Okay.
He's a pianist, actually. I know that. I mean, I've tested him on this.
Okay.
And for several times, I mean, he's always passed.
Don't you think there's a method of, I mean, well, maybe like a cheat method because the thing is,
of course.
I mean, people have argued that relative harmony or relative pitch is actually more relevant. So don't you think that this friend of yours actually maybe after making a mistake on the first pitch gets the other ones right based on reference, or he doesn't make any mistake at all?
He doesn't even make initial mistakes.
Mistake. Okay.
I mean, it's as you keep going on and on. That's when
would he be available for like a test? I mean, perhaps you want to just try something.
The last
with him.
time I heard from him, he was I think he was in South Africa.
Okay.
So I don't know whether he's back in Ghana.
Well, if he comes back, we have to get him. just to prove to our audience that I mean, there are people who have perfect pitch. Okay, great. So the second part of the second section is just what we've discussed briefly. We need to really understand the importance of the solfa notation. There are certain basic concepts which the course will address. We look at melody and harmony. So Amos, basically melody, harmony. How would you describe melody and harmony in your own words?
Okay, my own words. Melody is a clear single line that is the succession of notes.
Right.
That's been created or woven
into
a single melodic line that you can clearly hear and then distinguish that out of a piece of work.
Right. And so then how would that translate into harmony?
A harmony to me is an accompaniment, so it's more like opposites of on the other side of the melody.
Great.
For the harmony, you hear a lot of notes coming together. Yes, to create a harmony.
Great. So that whole concept of melody and harmony is going to be addressed in the third part of the course of the third section. Other concepts that will be discussed are dynamics, pitch, tempo, bars, measures, time signatures, key signatures, and of course, at the end of each section, there's going to be an assignment to test your knowledge. So on the fourth section, it talks about reading or interpreting keys, and so we talk about the syllables and the pitches. We go in depth into the key signatures and all that. When it comes to syllables, there are some people who go like, okay, so we have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Now, when it comes to the sharps and the minors, so the flats and the sharps, okay? So, for instance, someone will say maybe the flat third will be a more. Someone will say ma. Are there rules as to how? Because if the staff notation is supposed to be universal, what are the accepted rules that makes the solfa notation universal as well?
Okay, so for the solfa notation, you see MA, and that is just an abbreviation or just something representing the solfa.
Right. Can you give an example so that it's clearer?
An example, MA, just like I said.
Okay.
You see MA, that is more. It's not ma.
Oh.
It's written as MA.
But then it's actually more.
But it's more.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, guys. So I mean, you hear musicians do, re, mi, mo, fa, fi, so, zi, la,
yeah, so
and all
the fi,
that.
for instance, wouldn't be FI, but FE.
Okay.
So these are, they are just symbols.
Right.
And the to that we always say and hear.
Okay.
It's TA also.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yes.
So which means that the writing actually the pronunciation is different from the writing.
Yes, yes.
Well,
yes.
so do you think that this is universally, it's a standard?
Yes, of course.
Okay, great. So, guys, I think in that section of the course, which is yet to be recorded because we've so far recorded the first two sections, Amos may come in to just do some illustrations there because in order to make the solfa notation standard as well, we need to understand the basic rules and the basic elements. So the next thing that the course addresses, which is in the fifth section, is interpreting time. Now, for me, this is actually the most important part because the staff notation has or addresses a lot of complex time signatures. What are the limitations, or are there any limitations, do you think, when it comes to solfa notation and time signatures?
Yes, the solfa notation has a lot of limitations.
Okay.
And this is something that's generally known. That's why the staff notation is preferred.
Right.
For the staff notation, you see the rhythmic patterns clearly spelled out, and then you are able to read ahead.
Right.
And then hear them even before you get to. So, in essence, it's a faster way of reading. It's that's kind of system of notation is a faster way of reading.
Right.
I mean,
I would it be safe to say that the solfa notation can also interpret every time signature?
Yes, it can.
It can. Great.
It
So,
can.
guys, let's just pause over there. So that is actually the essence of this course. That it's possible. One thing that Amos says that I appreciate is that with the staff notation, it's faster because then there are symbols that make it easier for you to just look ahead and then at least appreciate what you're playing or singing. But the good news is that with the solfa notation, it's actually possible to interpret every time signature. So we look at 4/4 time. So section 5 addresses the 4/4 time signature, the 3/4 time signature, the 2/4, 6/8. We may look at other complex, time signatures, how we can represent certain symbols that are on the staff notation, like minims, quavers, semiquavers, hemi, demi, semiquavers, and all of that. But I would allow Amos to talk a bit more on the time signatures as well, because I once we've established the fact that it is possible, let's hear a bit more of what you have to say in terms of comparing both.
All right, so the time signatures would not even be much of a problem, but it's the rhythmic content within the time signatures that would be the problem, because some of the patterns are very troublesome, especially you are just a jazz player, so you understand this better. Some of them aren't. Even with the staff notation, you may have to pause a little bit and then take your time to understand how they go like. So it means that it's possible in the sense that it's they managed to have it done in the solfa notation also, since it's also a devised, method of notation, reading. So,
that's interesting. So in order for us to wrap up this video, I have a question. Now, when it comes to, before we started the recording, I mentioned the classical musician and the contemporary musician. Now, my personal observation is that there's a lot of chaos with contemporary music now because people are not following the rules. Now, a typical classical musician will take his time or her time to go through a score or to score a song. But most contemporary musicians will just do hear and play, which is actually good, but in hearing and playing, certain elements are missing. What is your take on the contemporary musician who does not have, any musical base in the form of both either the staff notation or the solfa notation? And what would you recommend?
Okay, so I think it's still good that you have a knowledge of reading the staff notation.
Okay.
Or any of the staff notation. Yes, or the solfa, that's fine. But we have to appreciate the fact that change is the only constant thing.
Right.
We are moving forward.
Right.
So the world is moving on. We've moved from the time where you could only score music by writing it with an ink. Okay. On a paper. Yes. So that was PC. That was the only way then.
Right.
But today you could just even using the sound recording is even faster.
Right.
And people are even able to get it better. So I would say that for the contemporary musician, it's still advisable that you get to know the reading of the staff notation or the solfa notation.
Right.
But it shouldn't make you feel intimidated if you do not know.
Okay.
I mean, you could still make music, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah. One reason why I feel it's necessary to have some form of notation is because it's a busy world now. Yeah. Now, when it comes to learning songs that are already composed, yes, of course, it's easy to listen and interpret. But when it comes to composing music, now, today people find themselves in situations where they go to the studio, they try to, get the producer to understand what they want, and the producer produces something else. Or they have a pianist, and the pianist produces something apart from what they have in mind. So I feel that, okay, in a band setting or in a group setting, once everybody has an understanding of some form of notation, it's easy to kind of script it so that they can appreciate the initial idea. What do you have to say about that?
Okay, yeah. So we all understand and accept that music is a language.
Great.
So of course, if we can all read and understand it means that it will be easier for you to communicate your thoughts, your musical thoughts on paper. So that it is generally known or understood by everyone.
Great.
In the band. So yes, of course, that would be an advantage of knowing the staff notation or the solfa notation as a band musician.
Great.
Understand?
Great.
But I was
or as a singer.
As a singer. But going solo, you could record.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
You could record. I mean, and I understand that
but
most of the time,
no man is an island, actually.
Yes. Classical musicians make people feel intimidated, like I can read, you can't read. But I mean,
but what's the
musical
point?
Understanding is beyond
it's the sound.
that. It's beyond that. It's the sound. And
great.
And if you limit yourself to only reading, that's also not.
Yeah. So I would always use this illustration. If there are certain presidents who, when they are going to give a speech, their speech is scripted. Some of them don't follow the scripts, like someone like our former President Rawlings. I mean, he's known to do more
he speaks well.
And he speaks very well too, And even I know of, I don't know their names, but I know very great classical musicians who perform with the whole orchestra, but they are not reading the score, but they are able to just flow.
Okay, so for the classical musicians and for concert pianists who may be playing or performing a long piece of work without reading, it depends.
Okay.
Most of them has been memorized by
over time.
Yes,
they perform the piece over time.
The point is, music shouldn't be read. It should be something that flows from you. I mean, naturally.
Great.
Because if you're only reading and you are just abiding by the rules of the paper, then that means that your emotions cannot be
expressed.
Affected. Yes. So I mean, that's great. That's a disadvantage of.
That's really awesome. Yeah. So guys, this video basically captures a few components of the solfa notation masterclass. We've just done a quick scan of the various sections. There's a total of 6 sections in the course, and if you want to follow up with what we're doing, just go on tuneaudit.com, sign up, read the blog posts on the website. You're going to see the links to our social media pages on our WhatsApp page, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow us, ask all the questions, drop all your questions in the comment section of this video. It's important to have your questions answered. I'm going to direct all your questions to Amos, and so that if there's any technicality involved, both as a singer, as a musician, as a producer, the course actually addresses a lot of these issues. And so it's important that we stay in touch on social media. We stay in touch so that we know how everything is going. Once again, this is brought to you by Tune Audit, and the lovely music you're hearing is the High Life Suite by Victor Day Jr. As the course progresses, we're going to be sampling various musical elements, various songs, easy songs, difficult songs, harmonically challenging songs. We're going to get in there and dig deeper. So we hope that you follow us along the way, and have a great time practicing as a musician. Practice, listen. And Amos, it's been nice having you, and we'll definitely do this again. Thank you so much.